Hello and welcome to the 1916 Company. I'm Tim Mosso. This is Watches Tonight. We've got a live studio audience and Sid is on the switcher. This evening we discuss the 5 watches that every man needs. Do you have them? We chat live and I share your viewer wrist shots tonight on Watches Tonight. Let's see who's in the box. Thomas Burnett, Enrique Cassiano. Hello from Brazil. All right then. Jim Millett from the UK. Rich Mitch. We got Marquez from Brooklyn. Moto Gunner from Athens, Georgia. Weed and Watches, an all-new category of indulgence. Landing from Cape May, New Jersey. And we got McLauder. We got Rosvin joining in, we got Slowboy Fuel Pump, we got Corentin joining in from Paris, Don Rogan, and Cameron Flynn from America's Left Coast in San Diego. Everyone joining in, thank you so much. While we are filing into the chat and tuning into the show, check out my Instagram, Tim_Mosso, where you can see daily updates. I posted 3 new 1-minute reviews today, and they are all bonkers. These are the best watches we've got, many that are not on our website and others before they're on our website, which means you also get the first crack if you see something you like. So check out Tim_Mosso and join my 1-minute review Instagram account, 3,000 posts and counting. Celine driver Sean Hansen, Matteo joining in from Italy, Keystar G60, Watch Bronco, and Alexander Harris from DC. We've got Hazel Bolivar joining in from Brooklyn and Wolfgang from Austria. Okay, viewer wrist shots number 1. Shelby M opens with, well, big game hunting right here. Unbeatable combination of McLaren GT and de Bethune DB28 Tourbillon. Nathaniel K. of Florida is in the Italian Alps with his Jaeger-LeCoultre Grand Reverso 8 days on the rare full bracelet. Jeff S. and his Chopard Alpine Eagle chronograph overlook his BMW X5M competition. Jesse B. shares his exquisite de Bethune DB28 XP steel wheels. Jeff R. and his Rolex Daytona Meteorite in white gold spot a rare Porsche 911 Flakbau Cabriolet. Guys, send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com and you can see your passion in this fashion. Welcome to Dixon Lee, Grandmaster Chime, James Carrion. We have MJ Carroll. We have Edward from Sweden and Ordinary 999 staying up late with us from Oslo, Norway. Okay guys, semi-serious now, the 5 watches every man needs. We're going to start with, well, granted, let's just be honest. We're paying a little bit fast and loose with that word need, but given the audience for this show, I'm expecting that not only are we going to play fast and loose, but we're probably also going to play along. So, herewith, the 5 watches that every man needs. Dress watches, the original wristwatch genre. Born in a time before segments, specialization, and tool watches of any kind. So what are dress watch options to fill the box? Starting with the Vacheron Constantin American 1921. 40 millimeters and manual wind, a true dress watch in every regard. This is not for flying, not for driving, not for diving, and it's 30 meters water resistant, so don't even think about it. It was relaunched as a regular edition of the catalog for 2008 after being a long-time well-known reference from the early days of Vacheron Constantin wristwatches. Now, most commonly seen in rose gold, it is available in other metals, including white and including platinum. A mid-size in 36.5 millimeters is available, closer in size to the original from 1921. And by the way, this watch is really a hybrid of 2 different models. One that came out in 1919 and one that came out in 1921. So if you do a little bit of an internet search, you will find both of those watches contributed some elements to this one. Both sizes, however, feature the same accomplished movement. Vacheron manufacture 4400. It's thin, it's fine, it's Geneva hallmark, and it's got a 65-hour reserve, and it's a big part of the appeal of this model. Now, the 1921 is available all day long used in the mid-$20,000 range. $40,000 new, so buying one used is going to be the way to go, unless you absolutely have to be the first guy ever to wear it on the wrist. There are going to be some watches on the show tonight that I recommend you buy new, and I'm going to be clear about the distinction. Now, here's a watch you probably didn't think of as a dress watch, but from Ressence, the Belgian-Swiss hybrid, the Type 3. But with 10 meters of water resistance, no overt tool functions, and a relatively slim profile. Yeah, this is a dress watch. It's certainly not a sports watch. Bubble-like oil-filled, the dial holds 37.5 milliliters of oil, and it has something like 7 different bellows to handle the expansion and contraction. To block the oil from flowing into the mechanical movement, there's a magnetic coupling between the top and the bottom so that the two can never mix. And because the module, the Ressence orbital convex system that tells the time, is permanently bathed in oil, it's self-lubricating and doesn't need service. So basically, when it needs to go back to the factory, it's just an ETA 2824 service, which is ideal from a pocketbook standpoint. Also monitored by a thermometer. Where you have oil, you have to be cognizant of temperature, and since 2015, the Type 3 has had one. Although 44 millimeters in diameter, doesn't wear that way at all. Being primarily composed of titanium and sapphire, it's fairly light for a thing that is, again, full of liquid. Incredible lume makes it versatile, so while a dress watch, it is a universally legible dress watch, and if you look seconds, hours, and minutes separately, it's a regulator. Day and a date, it's that too. The Type 3 is a day and a date, and you can see it. You've got 7 little semicircles that point to the days of the week, and then you've got a radial date indicator, so that's how the system works right there. Lots to love, but they retail for over $44,000, so buying pre-owned at around $30,000 is compelling, and it's been in production long enough that you're going to have pretty good selection at that price point. There are many different versions, dial colors, and accents, so find the one you like. And again, if you want to be the first one and never share anyone else's wrist cheese, I understand, but 30 grand versus 44 is probably how I would get mine. Now, going way upscale from a company known for its dress watches, Patek Philippe and the 5212A. Stainless steel, 40 millimeters. This came out in 2019, and almost from the beginning, it was a grand slam for Patek Philippe. Now, it's not easy to hit a grand slam with a dress watch design these days. For the most part, the haute horlogerie and independent brands known for hype watches are known for sports watches, and that goes for Patek as well. But in a catalog that also includes the Aquanaut and the Nautilus, this little gem still managed to be a spectacular success, and that's because it is so endearing. Look at those lugs, look at that dial. Let's get a little bit closer here. It proves Patek has more creative ways to spend its so-called steel budget than sports watches. 20% of Patek's roughly 75,000 watches a year will be in steel. Most of those are the ladies 24. Most of what's left is going to be the Aquanaut and the Nautilus, but a few steel dress watches have been standouts. The off-white dial here, it's a lovely sort of cream with black and white gold indices and hands, has a handwriting font. And you could see this is how it was prototyped, with handwriting from a Patek Philippe employee, but they liked the font so much that they decided to make it the production variant. Instead of using some professionally designed typeface laid down by a machine, they went with this, and I'm all for it. Used pricing is close enough to the retail of $38,650 that it makes sense to buy a new one and just get a flawless watch with full warranty. Remember, this year Patek Philippe has upped its warranty. So if you buy one of these things 1 year or 2 years old, you're not going to get the same warranty 5 years as if you bought a new Patek Philippe watch. There is some retroactive application, but again, these have been out since 2019 now. If you want the full 5 years, buy it new. And remember, new, used, it's practically the same price. So you can't go wrong here, but I recommend going to the Patek Philippe store and at least giving them an opportunity to make you an offer. Okay. Let's see who's in the box now. Let's acknowledge our many friends, because we do have many friends. We've got Faisal joining in from Hertfordshire in the UK, Joe Steve from Riverdale, New York, Jean-Claude Beaver, SVH, Randy S, Mason 1 saying that particular Patek is awesome, Jim Millett saying I tried on the 5212 and I loved it. Well, you know what? I'm not going to argue with that. It's an emotional hobby. 90% of why we buy a watch is because we love the way it looks. Randy S. saying, the new white ceramic Zenith is as eye-catching as my Lake Tahoe, almost. And watch out. Happy to catch the stream live from Northern Virginia. Guys, stay with me. Let's hit 200 concurrent viewers. Let's try to get that number up to 200. Stay with me and it'll happen. Thomas V. Hey, Tim. Here is Tom from Austria, just tuned in from Portugal today. Well, thank you for staying up late with us. I always appreciate that. And Andrew T saying this font looks way better than many chosen by other manufacturers. I don't doubt it. Okay. Lang & Heine, one of my favorite brands in the world, out of Dresden, not that far from Glashütte, but still distinct and underrated. This is Frederick III, named after Frederick the Wise, Elector of Saxony. This is a 39.2 millimeter dress watch, and you can even get stainless steel as seen right here. Now, this is also a sterling silver dial that's been galvanized blue with ceramic-filled, handcrafted pike hands, and their signature triple lug design. Everything here is just eye-popping. Now, powered by the incomparable Caliber 5, it has as much character out back as it does dial side, maybe more. A true work of art in a segment where most products only pretend to be works of art. Note how they made the bridge almost an island. Unlike so many German watches that have a 3/4 bridge, this bridge has been pared down to the bare minimum to squeeze in the crown wheel, the barrel, the drivetrain, and the escapement. The balance cock is solid gold, and the freehand engraving much more intricate than on a Langa. Media blasted bridges, blued screws, black polished screws, freehand engraved text on the base plate, and look at the solarization and micro beveling on the crown and the ratchet wheels. Oh my gosh. 55 hours of power reserve, overcoil hairspring, big slow beating balance in hacking seconds. Prices for the Lang & Heine Frederick III hover around $34,000 for stainless steel with the sterling silver dial. New, used, you can't go wrong. There are many options, including different dials, different case metals, and even different handsets. So take a look. New is the way to get the most custom option. Used is probably the best way to get one without a weight, and they do have a wait list. That might be my favorite watch on the entire show. What else is going on in here? We got comments from Mark S. saying, what is with Germans and small seconds allows the watch to be thinner, making it functional or practical? I think it's just that they like the anachronistic pocket watch style dial, and that's what's going on there. Piaget Altiplano Ultimate Concept. Okay, cost no object, guys, here for a dress watch that, in my opinion, is one of the most exciting products released in the last half decade. The Altiplano Ultimate Concept is ultra thin. At 2 millimeters thick. You can see the profile right there. It uses an exotic cobalt alloy case to avoid warping when you strap it down on your wrist. It is also ultra expensive at over $400,000, but there are custom options such as colors and also lume, and some of the lume isn't even applied to the dial, it's applied to the movement, which is one and the same as the front of the watch. The profile of this watch is so slender as to be unrecognizable as a watch at first glance. Piaget gave the Ultimate Concept a robust development program that makes it durable enough to endure regular use, and it even has a reasonable 40-hour power reserve despite being so slim. The ultra-thin assembly means the caseback and the movement base plate are a single piece. So what looks like a setting for jewels from the front is the base plate, but it's also the case back. It's all one piece. The movement is basically a hollowed out case that has been set with gems. It has a crystal that is glued in place and 1/5 of a millimeter thick. In many cases, ceramic ball bearings are used in place of jewels in order to allow pivoting of wheels or, for example, the balance without adding thickness. At 41 millimeters, it has surprising wrist presence, and you might have noticed that the first version I showed you today also has a PVD blue case, which is an option. It was the GPHG Aiguille d'Or for 2020 Best Picture at the Oscars of watchmaking, and in my opinion, even with thinner watches now available from Bulgari and Richard Mille, still the best ultra-thin, ultra-high-end watch you can buy. We have Julio B joining in from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Jim Millett asking, can we hit 400 tonight? Let's get to 300. When 300 people are watching this all at once, it turbocharges my views tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that. And it lets me know that you love us. All right, guys, let's keep rolling along. James Carrion saying, maybe if you put a Rolex in the thumbnail, which you guys know I cannot do. Okay, viewer wrist shots number 2. Jeff returns with his H. Moser & C Streamliner Tourbillon Vanta Black and his Ferrari with the top down. Vince C. and his Rolex GMT Master 2 ride with the doors off in his Jeep Wrangler on Cape Cod. Kevin M. of Indiana and his girlfriend share an Hublot-themed his and hers shot right there. Brian R. and his friends had an informal watch meetup in Osaka, Japan, and Reza F. vacations on the Mediterranean with his Rolex Submariner Hulk. Guys, keep them coming. Wrist shots. Monday mailbag at thewatchbox.com to see your analog on my digital. Yassis joining in from Adelaide, getting up early, and I definitely appreciate that. Okay guys, the 5 watches every man needs, dive watches. This is the main event for a lot of watch collectors and for the luxury watch market as a whole. And remember, the best known watch from that brand I can't mention is a diver. All right, at some point in the early 1980s, mechanical watches went from undesirable anachronisms to status symbols. That brand I can't mention became a fixture inside of many offices, and the convention of the universal dive watch for all attire was born. At first, it was one of those watches from that brand, either its entry-level diver or its more exclusive diver with the helium escape valve. But in time, dive watches turned into the default choice for business casual and business casual, everything in fact. This has become so commonplace that many collectors who dress formally for work keep no dress watches in their collection and just wear divers. So starting with one that I actually own, and I think it's a great all-around option, the Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter. It rose to fame on the wrist of Pierce Brosnan as the modern era James Bond watch. This is the classic Seamaster Professional, exemplified by a style that has not changed much since it debuted back in 1993. And that's important because before that, the Seamaster would get completely redesigned every few years. It was never evergreen like the Sub. Oops, did I say Sub? My point is that this has been the Seamaster with staying power. Now, many features, 300 meters, unidirectional, rotating dive bezel, diving clasp extension with both a push-button slider and a fold-out. It's got a ceramic bezel insert, a ceramic dial, coaxial escapement, master chronometer certified, and a helium escape valve. For a $5,900 watch, it is stacked. But I like this version in summer blue, which costs a little bit more, gradient dial in ceramic, and $6,300 on the full bracelet. I think this is more desirable to have an uncommon version of a common watch. So you get everything that's made this watch a blockbuster and very popular, but you don't have the one that everyone else has. And for an extra $400, I think that's a good deal. You get all the advantages and none of the drawbacks. You can get it for even less on a strap, but as I say, always buy the bracelet, and then if you must, get the strap as an accessory. It'll be cheaper that way. Now, Resonance Type 5, the only swimmable Resonance watch, this one's got 100-meter water resistance, diving style with a unidirectional bezel, yes, it's got one, and also because Resonance watches are set with their case back, it's got a locking system so you can't accidentally turn the minute hand backward and extend your dive. It has monster lume worthy of a Damasco. That's the latest Type 5L, and you can actually see my review of that on YouTube. But take a look at how everything has been backlit. And yes, again, it's a regulator and it has the thermometer, all of which I find incredibly cool. The Type 5 has the same oil-filled dial as the Type 3, only it has more of a benefit here since you can view the time from any angle. Even underwater, there is no optical distortion. This is a huge watch on paper at 46 millimeters, but it wears smaller than that in practice. Think Panerai ergonomics. They're around $39,000 new or $25,000 to $27,000 pre-owned, which means I do think that pre-owned is the way to buy these, especially if you want a discontinued version. They've been out since 2015, but if you want to get the latest and the greatest with the monster lume, that is the Type 5L, then it's going to be $39,000. Okay, jumping into the box, Time Hill saying, I love that backlit look. We got Thomas Burnett in the box along with Lloyd Kerr, saying, I thought they had an actual diver. That is it. Guys, stay with me. Our view count is rising, and you know how much I love that. Ramesh T saying, hi, Tim. I'm new into watches. Do you have any GMT recommendations that aren't a dive watch? Coming up, stay with me, my man. That is a full category. And we've got a Mick in Florida and 14 WNTR along with Mr. Personality and Andrew T and John D. Watch Out and Nicholas G are in the box. Okay, guys, continuing with this, Oris Aquis Date 5 days. They don't get any better than this. For value in the dive class, this is it. It is the end. 41.5 millimeters in stainless steel, still the best value. $3,700 with the bracelet and an accessory strap included. Upscale features include a clasp with a dive extension, a manufacturer movement, 5 days of power reserve, a quick release lug system, an accessory rubber strap, 5-position movement adjustment, and hardening against magnetism. This Oris, which costs thousands less even than the Omega, carries a 10-year warranty and boasts a 10-year service interval. And if Oris can do that for $3,700, everyone else really should. Okay, it is equally a rival to, I would say, both the Sub and Tudor, and it costs less than both. That is one hell of a watch from Oris. And again, 10-year warranty. All right. Cartier Calibre de Cartier Diver. Didn't see this one coming. From a company best known for making ladies' quartz watches comes a diver for men. Launched in 2014 and discontinued as of today. It was an incredible ISO 6425 compliant diver. In other words, the real thing. Refinement including durability, thinness, unlike anything else really in the dive class, bezel feel that was in a class by itself, each example tested to 125% of the 300-meter advertised depth rating, and a ceramic ball-bearing mounted bezel with 120 clicks. This is, to this day, at any price point, the best feeling dive bezel I've ever experienced. And at 11 millimeters thick, it's one of the thinnest modern divers ever made. Whole millimeters thinner than divers we consider to be pretty thin. Luminescent qualities, outstanding, including a quirky small seconds on a dive watch. Calibre de Cartier was one of the best dive watch debuts of the 2010s, and yet very few people recall it. It is instantly recognizable as both a Cartier and a diver, which lets you know they nailed the aesthetic. Ergonomics also outstanding and surprisingly viable on female wrists. Simple but effective automatic winding caliber keeps good time and robustly resists magnetism. In steel, you'll find them all day long. Blue or black, remember the blue one's got a ceramic bezel, for $5,000 to $7,000. Time Hill saying, even though it's a dive watch, you can see the Cartier DNA, and Jim M recommends a bathyscaphe. Well, you're not wrong. Miroslav in the box saying, had a chance to try this on and play with it. I was surprised with the awesome fit and feel. Sean Hansen, the Cartier Diver is on my short list at the moment. Guys, we are almost at 300, 297. 3 more guys don't leave me, and then 3 more guys join. All right, the 5 watches every man needs, the all-arounder. So, from one Cartier to another, it really doesn't get much better than the Santos de Cartier. The Cartier Santos, as it's more casually known. This watch came out in 2018 and it was immediately one of the best buys on the market. 39.2 millimeters, it's actually quite compact at 47.5 lug to lug and under 10 millimeters thick. Now there's a blue dial version which is very cool and very chic and very now, but they also make gray, black, green dials exist. Most intriguing, a new brown dial option relatively recently released with elements of bronze and rose gold and honey. Really slick with metallized numerals. This is Cartier at its best, doing more with design. In other words, less is more. 100 meters water resistant, and surprisingly, this watch is anti-magnetic to 1200 Gauss, not just 1000 Gauss. Size the bracelet links without tools. This is the smartest bracelet construction in the business. The feel is redoubtable, and you can swap to the included strap at will with a quick release lug system. Ancient and exalted model line. Guys, the first Santos dates back to 1904 when it was the first Cartier wristwatch, the world's first pilot's watch, and one of the very first tool watches of any kind, wrist or pocket. $7,750 and you get an 8-year warranty. That is doing it, Cartier. You never disappoint me. Okay, Thomas Burnett, the two-tone Santos is the classic. And we've got Stan saying, hey Tim, say hi to the Philippine watch collectors. I salute you boys getting up early with me. Thank you so much for watching in the Philippines. As it is now morning and you are starting your day with me, I am honored. Okay, Patek Philippe Aquanaut. This isn't really a tool watch in any functional sense, so I'm including it with the all-arounders. The 5167 is a veteran that recently received a new heart in the form of the Hacking 26330 SC. At 40.8 millimeters in steel, it's 120 meters water resistant and generally equipped with a rubber strap. Although bracelets are available for more money, I say get it on the strap. This is a rare case where I think it's more in character with the watch. Patek Philippe's $24,450 retail price is reasonable if that's what you actually pay. This watch is an example of one worth buying new rather than caving to the aftermarket's premium. And it'll take longer to get one from the Patek Philippe store, but you'll get it for less money, and then this is a watch for life. Even if you don't keep it for the next generation, a la Patek ads, having it for your life is enough. Forget the kids, it's all about me. Grandpa's hanging on until the bitter end, and he's gonna be buried with this thing. So kids, get your own. All right. Ulysse Nardin. This is the most unexpected watch of the night, but one I adore. The Torpilleur Moonphase Aventurine. Now, this is the Marine Torpilleur, so it draws on the maritime heritage of Ulysse Nardin, but in a way you never expected. This is a smaller brand, and once again independent, bought back from its luxury group by its management. So we've got a 42 millimeter steel watch that embodies everything that's best about independence. More interesting and more affordable than mainstream options, a dial that boasts aventurine glass. Take a look at that right there. A photorealistic moon phase, and the aventurine glass is a type of baked enamel that's dark blue, translucent, and filled with metallic flakes. The surface of the dial exhibits outstanding detail, and Ulysse Nardin has had the facilities to perform enamel dial manufacture in-house since it purchased Donze Cadran in 2012. So it's making its own dials here. The dial includes a power reserve indicator and a moon phase. Plus the movement is their own manufacture with a full silicon assortment, hairspring and escapement, 60 hours of power reserve, a chronometer certification, and automatic winding. Most remarkable is that all of this costs $13,700 or nearly $2,000 less than a steel superlative chronometer that's also a chronograph. So, viewers chats number 3. Sean M. gives us watches and wheels with his Zero SRS electric motorcycle, something new to the show, and his redoubtable Zin 144 chronograph. I love them both. Adam K. reports from Cayuga Lake in New York in the Finger Lakes region with his Casio GA 110 Sage Green and ink. We have J&S, who reaches out with his spectacular Micro Artist Studio Grand Seiko SBGD 202 spring drive. We got Ryan M, who prepares for a drive in his Tesla with his Cartier Santos. Eddie S keeps it Swedish with his Volvo XC60 and Sue Sandstrom World Time 41, a brand we have never hitherto featured. Send your shouts to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your analog on my digital. Guys, we have Mr. Fenimore in the box. We have Nicholas G saying UN doing great work. Miroslav saying we're almost at 350. Guys, we are rocking. Stay with me. Keep that viewer going up. That viewership is surging. J-Dub saying that UN is awesome for the price, and I could not agree more. Question, Andrew T. Tim, what would you choose? A 90s Zenith El Primero triple calendar or Concord Impresario? I love the Chronomaster style from those old 410s in the 90s, so stainless steel chronometer certified 40 millimeters in black dial from Zenith, that would be my choice. Chronographs. You chose right, my man, because a stopwatch can fall into any of these other categories, but here's the thing, the chronograph complication is so dominant in watch collecting that I decided to make chronograph a distinct discussion. Okay, Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore. Here's a 2021 launch that's a reissue of the original 1993 reference 25721, which was the original Royal Oak Offshore. So AP's 2024 villain image as a brand and over-reliance on Royal Oaks makes it easy to forget how fresh and daring the original Offshore was 31 years ago. Small details on this Offshore make it a better watch while preserving the best features of the original from 93, like the blob indices, baton hands, and pantograph cut hobnail dial. Remember, most Offshores have a stamped dial. This one has the old artisanal engine-turned dial. At 42 millimeters and massively constructed, the original Audemars Piguet Offshore remains as imposing as ever. A new movement gives you 3 days of power reserve, a flyback chrono, non-modular construction, and robust build to power this modern classic. You also get a quick-release lug system hiding underneath, 100-meter water resistance, and this is aggressively sporty. For our chronograph segment, it is the most aggressive. It's also a watch that has stood the test of time, which not every big, bold, and aggressive design does. Prices are in the high 30s and low 40s and appear to be stable at that level, so you'll have many options to buy, but the price range is relatively narrow. Okay, less money, but just as much satisfaction and features, the Zinn 358 Diapol. Can we go full screen with that, Sid? From Frankfurt in Germany comes German watchmaking at its best. 42 millimeters in steel, it gives you a synthetic diamond-coated unlubricated escapement, column wheel chronograph, automatic winding, a display case back, AR-based dehumidifying tech for the interior of the case, a second time zone, 100-meter water resistance and temperature resistance down to minus 45 degrees Celsius and up to 80. Only $4,670 on the full bracelet, guys. Get it with the bracelet. German watchmaking, tool watch style at its best. Okay, Zenith Chronomaster Sport, still the best Cosmograph alternative going. But this green dial version feels more like its own watch and not its original inspiration. This is something that could never be mistaken for anything but a Zenith. And at $11,300, you'll also save a few grand versus its likeness. And there is a $10,800 version on a strap if you're going to be cheap, but guys, get the bracelet. This Zenith is 41 millimeters in steel with a 100-meter case, so it's robust for all the time use, including in the water. The El Primero caliber 3600 is full of features: column wheel, a 36,000 vibration per hour beat rate, hacking seconds, 60 hours of power reserve, and a foudroyant 1/10 of a second chronograph seconds hand. If there's any weakness on the Zenith, it's a clasp that feels a little bit chintzy, but the rest of the watch is so strong, I give it my unreserved endorsement. Okay. Lange und Söhne and the Dotograph. You must have known it was coming, and we're going with the original in 39 millimeters. This is as good as it gets in the chronograph segment. Philippe Dufour liked it so much he bought one for himself. A landmark watch that's finally getting traction on the used market. For years, only special edition and yellow gold Daytona saw a lot of heat on the collectible circuit. Now we see these kinds of prices for the so-called Dufourograph, which is on your screen now, and the more common platinum model, and you can see both of them now cost a lot more than people were paying for these just a few years ago. In fact, 2 and 3 times as much in some cases. Features are many. It's a flyback, it's beautiful, it's loomed, it's got a tachymeter, it's got a big date, and it is a watch for the ages. Hasn't aged a day since it debuted in 1999. Refinement is colossal. Look at that movement and despair. Patek, you may match it, but you can't beat it. Really, this caliber is almost too much. Look at that chronograph clutch, and that's in steel. Okay guys, the 5 watches every man needs. We had a question earlier about GMTs. You need a travel time watch of some kind. So let's start with the Vacheron Overseas Dual Time. From Geneva with Love, 41 millimeters in steel and packed with features. The Overseas 3rd generation dual time display took some time to grow on me, and I got to admit, I didn't love it out of the gate with the AM/PM indicator, but it did grow on me. And this generation of the OS is packed with value at $30,900. Strap swapping starts with the 2 extra included straps, one colorful in rubber, one in alligator leather, and every version of the watch in steel gets those 2 extra straps. Caliber 5100 shows how you swap it, quick release lugs, plus a manufacturer movement that can go the distance with Geneva hallmark, 150 meters of water resistance, 60 hours of power reserve, and a very impressive movement to fill a big case back. Beautifully decorated, this watch is Geneva seal inside and out, a feather in its cap. They're not really discounted used. They cost almost the same amount as used watches. So buying new makes a lot of sense with these, unless you want to hunt for the rare and discontinued Overseas World Time reference 7700V. That would be the ultimate travel time Vacheron Overseas. Now here's something you didn't see coming. Moritz Grossmann Universal Zeit. So, the Universal Spirit or Universal Time, launched by the Glashütte Independent in 2022, it's a strange hybrid of several different times of travel time watch: world timer, geographic, and multi-time zone. So there are, let's go full screen, 6 cities, each with an independent time zone. And as a native New Yorker, I can tell you geographically that is not where New York is, but we're just going to roll with it. And also, this is an incredible timekeeper that is monstrously complicated below the surface. And so you have 24-hour format for every one of those reference cities. Hands are cut and finished to an incredible degree. That's one of the best parts of Moritz Grossmann watchmaking. You can see the insane hour disc in 24-hour format that underpins all of those city times. We have stunning movement finish that fully justifies the $51,900 price. Guys, how do you get a GMT for close to watch strap money? Well, you don't buy from Moritz Grossmann, you buy from Mito. So, Mito has you covered with the Ocean Star GMT Special Edition. At 40.5 millimeters in steel with vintage style, it cops a look that's straight out of the 60s for only $1,310. This is a watch you can buy without having a discussion with your significant other, selling a kidney, or having to forestall plans for future homes, education, or children. It's a lovely watch, and the price gets you 80 hours of power reserve and a full bracelet, which is impressive. Water resistance is 200 meters, and it comes with an accessory strap that allows you to change the look, plus a boxed set that also includes a strap tool. Dial detail is excellent for something so affordable, and for the same money, Mito offers a more modern 44mm style with the same specs, and that is also for $1,310. Guys, I've given you options. Now let me know in the discussion below what would be your choices for these categories, even if I didn't mention them. Viewer wrist shots number 4, Joseph P., a good friend of the channel, watches tonight with his Omega CK2998 on an Aran bespoke ostrich strap while vacationing in Aspen. David H. and his Rolex Skydweller visit Seattle's Pike Place Market. Andre Z. and Chance the Chocolate Lab appreciate the Rolex Explorer 242. Stephen E. captures a rare Carl F. Bucher Monero peripheral winding big date. And Morten T. of Norway sends us home with triple shot of JLC, Breguet, and Vacheron. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com or at the1916company.com to see your watch on this box. Thanks to Sid, thanks to you, thanks to our live studio audience. Time out, Tim out, and thanks for logging on.